Hello, my name is John Quirke from SA Partners, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Enterprise Excellence Model, the Shingo Enterprise Excellence Model, in particular, this idea of process, purpose, and people that's contained within the model itself. So I'm delighted to be here, and many thanks for Castlemartyr Hotel and Resort for facilitating this evening's session. So a little bit about myself. So I'm John Quirke from SA Partners. I'm a partner with SA Partners. I'm a Shingo Institute examiner, facilitator, and we help organizations around the world implement the Shingo Enterprise Excellence Model. We've published a number of books that won Shingo Research Awards, and we're very proud of that. You can find a lot more about SA Partners at sapartners.com. So again, we're familiar with the Shingo Enterprise Excellence Model and its 5 key elements, with culture and behavior at its center. Because the deep philosophy of the Shingo Enterprise Excellence thinking is that the results that we're looking for within an organization, its output, is dependent on the expression of behaviors within that organization. They could be expressed behaviors that we want or behaviors that we don't want. So the thinking is, how do we then purposefully design the systems and the way our work works within the organization to enable the behaviors that we want to deliver the results that are sustainable and excellent for the organization. So as we travel around, we help organizations along the Shingo Enterprise Excellence journey. They understand the model, but there can be a huge focus, rightly so, on the principles within the model, because the principles inform us of the ideal behaviors we need within the organization. And then to simplify that, the principles and dimensions are broken down into purpose, process, and people. So we see purpose, which is our enterprise alignment, ensuring that we have constancy of purpose, we understand what the customer is looking for, and we are thinking systemically, so the purpose is applied across the whole organization. Equally, when we look at process, we've ways that we're continually improving our processes throughout the organization. We're applying the principles of quality at source, embrace scientific thinking, and focus on process, etc. And then we base it all on people and culture within the organization. So we're ensuring that people feel respected, and that our leaders are leading with humility and enabling the people within the organization to get involved in improvement activity that's aligned to a purpose and vision of the organization. So as we go deeper into organizations and then understand how they're applying these principles, and in particular the dimensions purpose, process, and people, we sometimes see an expectation that here we have our purpose, we've defined it well, we have continuous improvement going on, we have teams involved in continuous improvement activity, and they're doing projects, and they're saving money, and they're reducing lead times, and we have clear expectations around culture and behavioral standards within the organization, and we speak to people about that. So if we add these together, the expectation is we are on target for a Shingo Prize, but that is not necessarily the case. And I want to explain this evening why that is so. And there's 2 main reasons for that situation. The first is, as we look in detail about how organizations are applying principles to enable behaviors, we often see we're doing the wrong things really well. So we get busy within the dimensions themselves, but they're not aligned. And what that can look like are things like, so we talk about constancy of purpose. Every journey should begin with a clear direction. But yet when we hear conversations around purpose and vision, they're quite shallow in the organization, and they're not deployed down through the whole organization to the people who really need to understand and engage with that purpose. The conversations stay at this high level of senior management, middle management, and maybe supervisors, with little or no engagement with the frontline teams. And any that does take place is usually they find irrelevant, and they find hard to engage and align with those conversations or those stories around purpose. Another interesting manifestation of this misguidedness on the purpose comes through, we've seen leaders, functional leaders, take their purpose and almost mutate it into a language that they deploy within their silo or their function, which basically allows them to continue business as usual. So we keep doing what we're doing rather than aligning all the different functions to a common purpose and a common direction that the organization is trying to achieve. Also, what we can see is a very busy activity in the continuous improvement dimension. So we're busy improving processes, where we have teams who are doing improvement and delivering results and saving money, but is not necessarily aligned to what's important for the organization or the critical things the organization needs to get sorted right now to enable their purpose. Also, in relation to engaging people, this improvement activity tends to be done to people rather than enabling and giving the people the skills to engage with improvement activity and understand how that improvement activity is aligned to where the business is trying to go as an organization. So a common picture we see across the organizations in relation to purpose, process, and people. So how do we get around that? Well, we need to go back to the core model again. And in particular, we need to start focusing on the systems within the organization. How do the systems purposefully and intentionally pull those three dimensions together so they work in harmony to deliver sustainable enterprise excellence for the organization? And we cover this systems thinking in the systems design course, which again, I really recommend you attend that course if you get a chance, because it's a very insightful 2 days. So what do we mean by systems? So in our thinking within SA Partners, we use the term target operating model. So many of these systems are common across organizations. We all do strategy. We all develop people. We all need to deploy strategy. We all need to talk about behaviors. We've processes around continuous improvement. So how do we form that in a way that is intentionally designed to pull process, purpose, process, and people together, those three dimensions? And where we find the focus has to become on how do we align purpose to our process. So what are systems that effectively align our purpose to our process? A good example is our tier management system and how we deploy our measures and how we go from lagging to leading indicators within our organization. How do we engage our people in our purpose? So what are the systems that are constantly communicating to our teams and our people and engaging them in that purpose and making sure they understand it and checking our language and our translation of purpose to a way that teams really understand and can become really engaged with. And obviously then we have a process around our improvement activity. So how do we improve process and actively engage our teams at every level in every function to improve what we do? So it's not just about sticking widgets together faster and cheaper. It's about all our processes. It's how we do our design, how we do our sales, how we do our strategy deployment, how we make our management system better within the organization. So again, a clear focus on systems pulls our dimensions together. In particular, we're asking ourselves all the time, are our processes aligned to our purpose? Are our people truly engaged with a purpose and direction the business is trying to go? And do we see improvement happening everywhere at all levels within the organization? So the type of systems we come across regularly are things like, so our management system. So how do we key system that aligns our purpose to our process? So how we deploy our measures, do the right improvement, listen to our process, make sure the direction is correct. If we're an asset-intensive organization like a pharmaceutical company, well, how do we ensure that we have systems in place to manage and improve the performance of those assets so that again, the assets are creating the capacity that's aligned to the purpose of the organization, allowing us to bring in new products and reduce costs, etc. Equally, when we talk about our people and our purpose, so how do we engage them? And again, key things we have are a system we have are things like, how do we deploy behaviors in our organization? How do we create a coaching culture? How does leader standard work happen in a way that's not just a tick box exercise, but it's an intentional process to check and ensure that people understand and are engaged with the purpose of the organization and have everything they need to improve the process the right way to ensure that that improvement is aligned to the purpose and the direction of the organization. So the Shingo Prize, a Shingo Enterprise Excellence, is an enterprise-wide award. It's not given to a function. It's not given to organizations for a great continuous improvement activity. It's an enterprise-wide award. That means there needs to be a clear vision and purpose articulated by the leadership of the organization. There must be a clear intent on the behaviors and culture that we need within the teams and the people within the organization to deliver the results we're looking for. And we need processes that are enabling people to express the behaviors that they need to ensure the results that are required for the organization. And if that is working well and is constantly improving, then we're in the territory of Shingo Excellence, Shingo Enterprise Excellence, and a Shingo Prize. So for yourselves on reflection, I hope this has been a useful little snippet around Shingo Enterprise Excellence model. But ask yourself these 3 questions when you go back to your organization and reflect on it. So when you talk about purpose in your organization and the stories around that purpose, is that story and that purpose actually aligned to the culture and behaviors you need in the organization? Or is it some story you tell externally to the market to help you with your marketing activity, rather than reflecting internally on the culture and behavior you need within the organization? Do your leaders and managers lead by example? Are they sensitive to the behaviors and culture that they need within the organization to ensure we get the results we need for enterprise excellence? And equally then, when we look at our processes, if we honestly and in detail look at our process and what happens, do our processes enable or disable the behaviors that we're looking for? Is it hard for people to do the right thing? Are people forced to do workarounds? Are our instructions unclear? So do our processes actually enable the ideal behaviors we're looking for? So that's my 3 takeaways for you. If you're interested in finding out more, please go to sapartners.com or reach out directly to me and I'd be delighted to talk to you. So thanks very much for your time and it's a pleasure having you here.